can hear me well?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
Yeah. Well, first of all, good morning to all the participants. You were reading the names. I don't see them all. Some of the people, the names I had of people I know. And I want to congratulate you all on wanting to improve your entrepreneurial capabilities. Because I believe that that's the future of the country. People should be able to gain skills, to employ themselves and employ others. And I am of that mindset myself. You haven't, Ronald, told them, I think that is not on the website about me. My father was a shopkeeper, and I used to do that myself as a boy for many years. So up to now, I have that mentality and I promote it. But of course, today we are going to share with you about health. What is health, and how does it express itself, and how can we as individuals make ourselves and our families as healthy as is possible? So I will use these PowerPoint slides to make the presentation, and the messages which we are going to share basically are these ones: what is health, the centrality of health. And good health is something which we already have. It's inborn, and it's up to us to make the best of it. And then how individuals, families, and communities share responsibilities for health with the government and society as a whole. And then what determines people's health, and how, in the end, we will talk in more practical ways what each one of us should be doing to be as healthy as possible. So what is health? According to the Constitution of the World Health Organization, the main point which is there in the definition of health is that it is not just about not having a disease. It is also includes social well-being, a sense that I don't have pain, but also I am at peace, I'm well, I have the necessities that I need for living a normal and happy life. That is what health is. It's not just that you have an injury or you have an illness here, but it is not having that illness and also feeling well physically and mentally. And then they also add in the definition that it is a human right. It's one of the fundamental rights of every human being, without distinction of race, religion, political belief. So this is a right for everyone to have health. The second definition I want to share with you of health comes from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which broadens the definition of health even beyond what the WHO definition states, because it is about the standard of living for someone, which enables them to be healthy, like the other definition, and also well-being, not just for the individuals, but also their families. It includes access to food, to clothing, to housing, the necessary social services, and security, and so on. So, you know, this definition is really very broad. And if you are unemployed, if you are sick, you have mechanisms which enable you to be supported. That is a very broad definition of health. So health is not just about not having an illness, but it's also about feeling well and being supported where you are. Now, of course, this is very often taken for granted, but there was a study in 2002 here in Uganda, conducted by the World Bank, assessing the causes of poverty. And they went to rural areas in Uganda and were asking them the question, why are you poor? And the majority of responses said it is because of our poor health and having diseases. That's the reason why we are poor. And then the question was flipped. Oh, sorry, you are poor. So what do you think is most likely to happen to you? Again, the most frequent answers were that I'm going to deteriorate in my health, I'm going to catch a disease, I'm even going to die. So the general population have a high value to their health. They know that without health, there is nothing that you can enjoy. You can't be happy, you can't do what you want to do. And you as entrepreneurs, you know that if you fall ill or there's an illness in your family, your business is in trouble. It is therefore critical that we take the issue of our health very, very seriously as a high priority. And this is from the Sustainable Development Goals, and there are 17 goals. And the message here is that in the end, all of them are about SDG number 3, which is about health. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages of life. So if you're talking about removing poverty, so if you are not poor, what is going to happen to you? You are more likely to feed better, to access health services when you need them. If you are talking about educating people, so you educate them and so what? They will be better able to look after themselves and be healthy. All the SDGs at the end of the day are about the health and well-being of people and of the planet. This is how critical health is. And if you don't take your health seriously, there's something which you are missing. And that's the definition of SDG number 3. All people obtain good quality essential health services which they need without enduring financial hardship. The message here basically is that governments have a responsibility to ensure that all people are able to access the health services that they need without money or with money. This is the challenge of every government. There are some governments in the world who have been able to achieve this, but in Uganda here, we are still very far away. We are talking about an insurance scheme, and for years and years, we have not been able to kick one off, but there should be an arrangement by the government, led by the government, to ensure that all people can access quality health services. It is there in our constitution here in Uganda, but we have together to encourage the government to move forward. I think the insurance scheme is something which we should all be asking and demanding. And the health system here in Uganda assumes that you can access free health services, but then they are not available for one reason or another. So SDG 3 is central to all SDGs. Another key point to keep on board is that we are born healthy. Health is inborn. Only 6% of people are born with something wrong with them. It's called congenital abnormalities or diseases. And the rest of us are born normal and healthy. And in science, in physiology, they teach what is called homeostasis, which was advocated for the first time by French physician Claude Bernard. And the message is that in our bodies, there is already an inbuilt mechanism which enables us to maintain a steady state of health. So if, for example, you need more sugar in your body, you feel hungry and you eat. If you are short of water in your body, you feel thirsty and you look for water. If you are too cold, you shiver. Shivering generates heat through the muscles moving up and down, and so on. If your life is threatened, you produce adrenaline, which enables you to run away or to fight off the enemy, and so on. So these internal mechanisms are there in our bodies. Are we respecting them? Are we obeying them? Our job is to support these inborn health systems. If you are tired, the body tells you to rest. If it's time to sleep, you are yawning, and so on. So please obey your body. The whole system is already set for you to remain healthy, and it is we who disorganize this. You know, you start smoking cigarettes. The lungs were not meant for cigarette smoke. And then it ends up with you getting cancer of the lung, and so on and so on. We will come to talk about diet also in a moment. So there's also this question of who is responsible for your health. So it comes from ourselves, from inside us. Use the word endogenous here. If we don't take our health seriously, we are not going to remain healthy. So individuals need to take personal responsibilities for their health, just to make sure that you are clean, you bathe, that you eat the right food, that you sleep when it's time to sleep. That is your own responsibility, not that of anyone else. And then you do that for yourself and for the people whom you are responsible. We also have mechanisms for encouraging communities to work together to promote their health. It's called community health systems. It is a very powerful way of ensuring that every household is reached. Here in Uganda, we have what is called village health teams, VHTs. These are community health workers who are there in LC1s. They have registers, ideally, and they should have bicycles and uniforms and should be moving around households with that register, saying when they reach the household, this is Omaswa's home. How is Omaswa? Does he have blood pressure? Does he have sugar? His wife is pregnant. How is she going to deliver? And so on. That is the community health system. The foundations for it are here in Uganda, and with the health policy, which I was part of developing in the year 2000, they have been there all those years, except that they don't have as much support as they should have. So prioritizing health is the responsibility of individuals personally and in the families and communities. But then the Parliament has a role. The government, of course, has a role. Even the international community has a role. So it is a job we all do together, but it starts with us as individuals. Here I have Africa as a continent for global pity. Basically, what has happened is that over the years, because of our poverty and our problems, other people have come here with their money and told us what to do about our health, instead of us being the leaders in this ourselves. The years when I was Director General of Health Services, so from the year 1999 or 2000, thereabout, I recorded a statement like this, which was played on radios quite regularly. Health is made at home and only repaired in health facilities when it breaks down. Be clean, eat well, and do not share accommodation with animals. This is a message from the Director General of Health Services. And I mean this sincerely. Health of the people is made at home and where they work. Is your household the cause of your ill health? Is your workplace the cause of your ill health? You are entrepreneurs and you have homes, but also you have businesses which you run. In both places, you should try and make sure that the health of yourself and the people whom you employ is addressed, taken care of. Don't expose them to health hazards. There should be a policy on the health and well-being of the people whom you employ. And when they are well, they also do better things for you. Well, there is also, I'll come to talk about social determinants of health in a moment. But then there has to be a partnership between the individuals, the health system in the country, and their government. Starts with individuals having the primary responsibility of maintaining their own health, the inborn health, which we talked about. And then there is the national health system, which helps to provide health services for people, educating them. That is what we call health literacy, and facilitating behaviors and creating laws which enable people to be as healthy as possible, making sure there is security, making sure there are clean sources of water, etc., etc. So this is something we do together, but it starts with us as individuals. And of course, in health systems, this question of keeping healthy people healthy is often overtaken by the need to provide services or care for those whose health is already lost. Someone has had an accident, you can't wait. And then, time for a baby to be born has come, you can't wait. The child has malaria, is having convulsions, you can't wait. So that takes over the face of the health system. And we think of health systems as hospitals and clinics and so on. But that is what it should not be. What it should be is how you live at home and make sure that you don't lose your health. How you live and drive in such a way that you don't get accidents, and so on and so on. So health promotion, that is what it's called, health promotion and disease prevention, should be the key purpose of any good health system, enabling us, reminding us at all times to listen to our bodies. So we here need a very strong leadership to make sure that we have a balanced health system, which is based on wellness. That is the health system of the future that we are advocating for. And the governance and health should be integrated together. If, for example, you have an LC1 who is also responsible for making sure that homesteads are hygienic, ensuring that pregnant women in their village are being attended to, the children are immunized, and so on and so on. In colonial days, you people are young. I grew up here in colonial days, and there were the village chiefs, and that was their job, the rural road network, the water sources, and so on. And I would like to advocate very strongly for having these administrators of communities as the very first frontline health workers. During COVID, I was appointed as the chair of the community engagement committee for COVID, and we advocated for village COVID task forces. They were created in some places, and they contributed a lot to the control of COVID. And in 1978, there was a big meeting in a place called Alma Ata then, which called for health for all by the year 2000. And there was a repeat of that meeting 40 years later in 2008. I went to the 208 meeting as well. And the main point here is that we should not tolerate gross inequalities in health status of people within countries and globally. And there is also a statement that the people have a right and a duty to participate individually and collectively in planning and implementation of their health care. So all of us should be involved. And then lastly, among other things, is that primary health care it should be accessible to individuals and families through their full participation and at a cost they can afford at any level of their economic development. And this is where those community health workers in Uganda here could be mobilized to reach every household, and we would be able to achieve that health for all message with the resources that we have today. But we are not doing this, and I would like to encourage you to start advocating for it wherever you are. There is what is called determinants of health. There are social determinants, the cultural things like female genital mutilation, for example. That is something which is there in the culture of people, the foods we eat culturally, and so on. Then there are commercial determinants, the people who advocate for tobacco and these soft drinks, which we take with a lot of sugar in them, Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, and so on. Then the fast foods, and so on. And then the environment in which we live, and so on. So I would like to encourage you, colleagues, to make sure that you take care of yourself. Make sure that you have regular medical checks, blood pressure, for example. Black people, generally compared with other races, have high blood pressure, more than others. And it is a major cause of premature death here in Uganda. You find someone has a stroke, becomes unconscious or paralyzed on one side. It is usually because their blood pressure was out of control for a long time. They get heart failure also from that. So please know your blood pressure and make sure that it's kept in the right place. Your weight. I will be talking about body mass index later. Cholesterol, your sugar, for men, prostate. There are tests for all this. For women, regular scans of your breasts, and also check your cervix and so on. Every year, at least, you should find a place where you go to have all these things checked for you. And then if you have like high blood pressure, they are fortunately all possible to control if they are detected easily, early. And this is your responsibility as an individual and also for your family to make sure that you go and have yourself checked. The government is not going to come home and ask you to do this. This is your first responsibility. And this is also, this is generally about keeping healthy people healthy. And we need to work together with our governments. And these things need to happen in communities. If they don't happen in communities, they will not happen in the country. Mobilizing you to become advocates for stronger health systems. Wherever you live, make sure that you are participating in the health system there. All those clinics have what they call health management committees drawn from the local people. Please take interest and join those committees where your health facilities are so that you can contribute to making them work better. And everywhere it's like that. If you don't care, then also the health workers are lonely, they don't come to work. Then you go there, you don't find them, and you go away to a private clinic when in fact you could be accessing services if you were on top of the health facility in your area. And then I've really said all this. Health starts with and is created and maintained by individuals, families, and communities. And it is only supported where necessary by knowledge and technology of health professionals. But first, it is the responsibility of individuals and families. Well, government comes in later through providing these other things: education, security, clean water, and so on. We've recently launched in Uganda here a national community health strategy, which should be advocating for these things. But I would like to hear the Ministry of Health talking more about it than they are doing now. But it is there. If some of you are interested, we can get copies of the document for you, electronic or even hard copies from the Ministry of Health. And again, here we need to create a national movement on this. The politicians, the society should get together to ensure that those provisions for ensuring healthy life for people are made available. And the government and the population should get together on this. And it's really, it's not divisive, this message of getting basic health services for people. And this is my last slide, friends. What it's saying is putting all this into practice. So to maintain good health, what you eat is extremely important. Physical activity is extremely important, and social networks. Diet, it's my friend who works with me in the office here, Dr. David Okello. He met a relative of a friend in the village the other day who was mourning to him that he is poor, he can't eat meat, he's eating only boar and kalo and so on. But that is the correct food to eat. The traditional African foods are healthy foods for your heart. If you now are talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken and so on, you are harming yourself and your children. If you are drinking soda, which is full of sugar, you are harming yourself. So there is what is called the body mass index, which is calculated your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. And there are ranges which are there. If you are underweight, that figure is less than 18.5. The normal one is between 18.5 and 25, thereabout. And then overweight is there, 25 to 30. And obesity, then you are greater than 30. So you should try and maintain your weight within the normal body mass index. We should all have weighing scales in our bathrooms. And you step on it and you know my weight should be within this range, and keep it there. It influences then what you eat that day and how you live in the next few days. Then physical activity is important. We were created that normal system to be running around chasing for food, we're hunting animals, climbing trees, and all those type of things. not to sit down and develop a big tummy and be overweight. That is a mistake. Keep your weight down to the normal weight for yourself through physical activity. Find something to do, ride a bicycle, walk, go to the gym, and so on. But don't just be physically inactive. Then we are also informed that you should have a social life. If you don't have a social life, something goes wrong with your mental health, with your physical health. You should be a member of a community, having interactions with people who make you happy, whom you like, and not those who stress you. So eat right, be physically active, and be in a social community. And you, at the end, are personally responsible for your own health, for the health of people who depend on you, like your children, your family, and so on. And then with your health, you can create your wealth through your businesses and so on, and live socially with people, enjoy your life before your time to die comes, because that is all inevitable. So friends, that is my message. The key message is that your health is your own responsibility. 2, that how to remain healthy is known. And 3, let's work together with our communities, our governments, to ensure that as many people as possible have access to health care when they need them. So I will stop there, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that insightful message. A big thank you. A number of key nuggets which have come up, and I think, Professor, you summarized them well. Your health is your responsibility. I think that was at the heart of Professor's message. And then definitely we need to make sure that we understand that there is the responsibility of the community and your own responsibility. I think, Professor, you asked us to make sure we go back to our communities and say, are we part of those systems for the health of the people around us? I imagine even basic things like the cleanliness of the community in which we live. I think that's a place where entrepreneurs, you own a shop on a certain street, I think you can push a bit harder and say, how do we make this place cleaner? You also mentioned that we are born healthy, and really most of the cause of our unhealthiness is driven by what came from outside, not what was there at the beginning. I think this is a key message. How do we ensure that we avoid those areas where we are actually worsening our health because of how we live and how we eat, because of the choices, the life choices that we have made. Great. So we still have Professor for a couple of minutes, and I would request, if you have a question, you come through and you could put up your hand. I'll give you an opportunity to ask that question. I have some questions of my own. Yes, James Sodongo says, thank you, Professor. Florence said, Professor Florence agreed with you on some of the dangerous drinks that people are taking and how those affect. Some of them are too sweet, some are alcoholic, some are unregulated. And she kind of emphasized that point of the dangers that has brought about. Professor also challenged us that possibly the gift for a child passing school at the end of the term should not be going to KFC, it might be a plate of bo and kalo. Convincing the children may be very challenging, Professor, but I think it's a real mindset shift of what is good food, because I think many feel like the food which we had locally is the one which had, if I really go up in status, I should eat worse food, and that's an unfortunate thing. I see Florence's hand up. Let me give her an opportunity to ask a question. Florence, please go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Prof. And thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this show, in this webinar. Professor, we have an upcoming very big issue. I am a public health nutritionist and I work at Makerere University School of Public Health as a research associate. And I'm conducting research in the extent and nature of food advertising to children. And we found, basically preliminary, we have found that different regions, different zones in Uganda, they are actually innovating in the food industry area, and they are processing a lot of sweet, and some of those products are alcoholic. But my issue is, I think our industry is going is doing all that because we don't have a policy to regulate or to restrict the advertising of such foods. I wonder what your take would be, and whether you have any opportunity that you would engage us in negotiating for healthier policies that would create a better food environment in the country. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Florence, for that question. We'll take a couple, Professor, and then we will give you an opportunity to respond to them. I see in the chat box a couple of people are saying thank you, Prof, for the submission. We are surely gleaning from your wealth of knowledge. That's from Jacqueline. Yes, Harriet also says thank you, Prof. Physical activity is key in health. Yes, I also see here Joseph. Thank you, Prof. And a namesake. Yes, this is your namesake, Professor Joseph Omaswa. And then we have Betty Kamira, who is saying thank you, Prof, for the great presentation, and more thank yous from Kezia. Sarah, it was great listening about our health, and I'm happy that some of us have been observing our homes and bodies and feeling well. Emmanuel says also thank you, Prof. And I think Emmanuel, Prof, possibly you comment on this. Emmanuel says about this gap between healthy food. And I don't know, Professor, possibly we would like to pick your mind on how exactly do we communicate a message of what good food is? Because there is a clear misconception between what good food is and what seemingly, if you are successful, what you should eat. So if a man is eating chicken every day, our society concludes that I think you have arrived. Yet the argument you're making is that this may not be the best food. And possibly, Professor, you could also touch on appearance. I know that there are also social settings where if the bigger you are, the more successful you are, and that those are questions. How do we navigate those culture? I think you touched on them, but you could possibly comment on that too. Martin, yes, we will share the presentation with you. The people who put their emails. James Sodong says good health is our responsibility first. And the other question is, what should we do with these sweet drinks being manufactured in many factories? And I think it touches on the question which Florence earlier touched on. I will take one more question from Julius, Prof, and then we'll give you an opportunity to respond. Julius, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor, for the insightful discussion. I wanted to talk more on our community systems. Our communities do not believe in doing exercise, physical exercise. People don't believe you can actively engage in exercise. So in the past, we used to benefit from passive exercise. I call you, come to my house, and then you walk to my house. On Sunday, you want to go to a church. The church is 2 kilometers away, and then you have to walk to the church. So we were benefiting from passive exercise, meaning you exercise not intentionally that you want to do exercise for fitness, but because of another need. So you benefit. But now many things have changed. For example, the availability of boda has killed the passive exercise systems. So if I want to go to church on a Sunday, the church is 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers away, I'm going to take a boda. My home is probably 2 kilometers from my workplace, I'm going to take a boda. So I never benefit from these passive systems of exercise, which I used to. Now, the only people who can exercise are those who intentionally carry on with the exercise for the benefits they want to, the active exercise. So how are we going to reinvent the community passive exercise systems so that people can benefit from exercise without intentionally knowing that they're actually benefiting from it? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julius. I think, Professor, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to that, and we'll possibly take one more round. Possibly you'll add to that conversation, what are the dangers of using energy drinks? That's a question from Harriet.
Yes, so there are two sets of questions. There is the one started off by Florence about advertisements for wrong food, and then that energy drinks thing and so on, and what can be done about this as a country. This should be the role of government, through, I believe, the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Should set standards. The Uganda National Bureau of Standards, how much sugar should there be in these drinks. Florence, you are asking, is there anything we can do here? Yesterday, in the last few days, I've been watching a very aggressive advertisement on TV from a group called Timex, saying we can do this for you, we can do this. That is not allowed. It is not allowed in the ethical way to advertise your medical services. So I think following this conversation, I don't know whether Enterprise Uganda has any systems or any policies for addressing issues with the government, but I can draw this to the attention of the people in the Ministry of Health. Say, please do something about these advertisements for sugary drinks, etc., wrong foods, which are going on. I can do that myself, and each one of you can also take steps to do that. Regarding exercise, yeah, I agree with you fully. In the past, we didn't have all these facilities, and also a lot of people were peasant farmers. You get up every morning, you go to your shamba with your hoe, and that is exercise. Yeah. But now there are fewer people who do that. They are still there, and they are lucky. They are thin, they are slim, and they are healthy. Unlike us who sit in the offices and have a tea break and this break and eat this and the other and Kentucky and so on, and then you put on weight, and apparently then people think that you are doing well, you are in the right place, which is not correct for you. And sooner or later, something goes wrong with you and you die prematurely. So this again is a public health activity which should be promoted by government messages and all this new community engagement strategy which the government has launched. These are the things they should be putting out in their advertisement and their notices, and they probably need money to do this, and no one has identified this as a priority in the donor system. But we as community together, we can talk, we can apply pressure, we can write to the newspapers, but certainly after today, I will give a call to some people in the Ministry of Health and express your concerns to them, and whether they will do something about it or not, I also don't know. I can't promise that. But certainly, based on today's conversation with you people, I hope that some of you have become converts to this message of your health is your responsibility, eating the right food, undertaking physical activity, having social networks, and keeping your weight within a certain level. And above all, appreciating that the so-called Western food is not the healthy food for your heart. That message needs to go out. We have tried here. My colleague, Dr. David Okello, has even written a piece for the newspapers, but they are not publishing it on this topic. So let's all become advocates for better health, starting with ourselves.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. There are a couple of more questions which we are going to, I think Beatrice says, thank you, Professor, for talking about socializing with people who do not stress us, because they make a lot of people lose control. I think that the mental, Professor, possibly you would comment on mental health and that piece, and how we can make sure that we maintain good mental health. It's a big challenge, especially amongst entrepreneurs, given the several challenges they face. You have a bill from the taxman, your employees haven't come to work on time, and one of your suppliers promised they would deliver on Monday, but they haven't delivered. It's Thursday, and that can cause a bit of heat for the entrepreneur. I wanted you to touch on the question of mental health. Alex Ogwalse asks, dear doctor, elaborate on the matrix between poverty and health, because if the former is not there, then good health is not guaranteed. I think how poverty and health interact, I think possibly I will ask Alex wants to know. Alex, I don't know whether you, I wish you would, I'll let you unmute and you ask this question a bit more clearer. Alex, do you want to unmute and ask the question? It's Alex Ogwal. Trying to find Alex. All right, I'll possibly try to find Mr. Ogwal. I'm trying to find him in the chat box. So let me just read the other questions we have. Great. So possibly, Professor, you touch on this matrix between poverty and health, and how the two, I mean, if poverty exists, appears, health can't. So I think that's the question Alex is trying to ask. Ismail Ojakol asks, Professor, please give us some light on the use of chemicals like fertilizers on the greens we eat, especially. So tell us, tomatoes are sprayed, and how is that affecting our health? Martin Morris asks, I think Matt Morris asks that, what about cases where some regions have experienced trauma? Does still the person have the responsibility of their health? I mean, he talks about regions like Teso, regions like Acholi, where there are sustained periods of war, and such mental health pain leads to substance use disorder and alcohol use. How do we interact, and possibly how do such regions which are emerging from such environments, how should health be viewed in such regions? That's the question which Martin Okol asks. Beatrice asks, how can someone handle stressful situations so that we do not develop illnesses caused by stress? I think this ties into the question, Professor, we asked earlier. how do we handle these health, these stressful situations? How do we handle them, and how do we manage them? Yes. Great. Professor, before you come, I'll give Julian an opportunity. Julian, if you're available, I'll give you an opportunity to share. Then Professor will come back and respond to those questions. Julian, please unmute. Julian, you can unmute and share.
Oh my God, that was okay. Hello, Ronald. Good morning, and good morning, everyone on the call. Hello, Professor. Thank you for the knowledge you shared with us this morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Ronald. And I actually felt it very important, since we are discussing health this morning, to actually share with you about one of the growing concerns in our country and globally is cancer. Now, I happen to work in the cancer space. I work with Uganda Cancer Society, and we coordinate work of various organizations within the cancer space. And maybe just for insight, in 2020 alone, we had at the Uganda Cancer Institute, we had 34,000 cases registered, which is quite a very huge number. And out of the 34,000, there were 22,000 deaths, which is a very huge number. And so cancer is attributed to so many things. Some of them are lifestyle, like we were discussing this morning. What are we eating? Are we exercising? Are we eating the fruits and vegetables? Unfortunately, for many, it is detected in its late stages. So one of the initiatives of Uganda Cancer Society, we all know that amongst so many treatment options for cancer, we have surgery, such that the cancer doesn't spread to the rest of the body. So women who have undergone surgery, breast surgery at the Cancer Institute, Uganda Cancer Society goes ahead to give out artificial breasts to these women, such that they can also have life after the illness, to boost their health, to boost their confidence, to do away with the stigma they face in society right after losing their breasts. And to that effect, Uganda Cancer Society would like to see that there is continuity of this program. We give out these breasts free of charge to these women. And so we have also organized, we have called it the Cancer Sukuma Dance Fitness. It is aimed at raising funds, because we'd like to see that this continues. We provide these breasts for free. So this dance fitness is happening this Sunday, 25th Feb. We are going to be at City High School along Lugogo Bypass. We have our dance vests or a kit that goes for 30,000. And for every 30,000 that we are collecting, we're able to provide a boob to a woman who has lost their breasts. For those who have gone ahead to lose both breasts, of course, we give out 2 breasts. So for every kit, for every individual that participates in this event, you're able to see that a woman out there is able to regain their life even after the surgery, or even after the cancer. And so we all know that we cannot do so much unless we have the assistance and support from so many other people. Somebody's saying, please post the ad for Sukuma Dance. I know the host will let me do that later on with his permission. But yeah, so all I'm saying is that we can help a woman out there, and also to us who are still okay and haven't gotten the cancer, let us watch out on what we eat. We need to exercise. It's very important. We need to do so many other things. If we have daughters within the age of 10, HPV vaccination helps them to prepare for, to guard against that cervical cancer. I don't know how many minutes you gave me, Mr. Mukasa, but I would like to summarize it here. When you let me later on, I can share the post like somebody requested. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Julian, for that message. Please go ahead and share the link to that, and the people who want to support that initiative, please do go ahead. I do know that Professor is an avid Rotarian, and I think it's such messages that Rotarians work to support. But the rest of us in our spaces, please go ahead and make sure that we push this message. Professor, I wanted to add one question to the ones you had. And the question I had was on the question of the people who work in our businesses. How do we help our employees keep healthy? What mechanisms can we use to make sure that at least the people who we employ are healthy? What are some of those things as entrepreneurs should look out for the health of our employees? Professor, over to you.
Great, Ronald. Those are very pertinent questions, and I'm glad that this webinar is well attended, more than 100 people and so on. And it's a tremendous opportunity to improve the health of the people of Uganda. Let me start with the question of mental stress and mental health. Managing stress is one of the capabilities that each individual needs to acquire as part of their way of promoting good health for themselves. And having a positive attitude to life is very important. There are some people who don't see everything working well. They are always expecting things to go wrong. I think step number one is to be positive, expect things to go right. And then two, knowing what is possible and what is not possible, and accepting the situation, having made that analysis. We are not in charge of everything. Some things work our way, some things don't work our way. And if they don't work your way, it doesn't mean that it is the end of the world for you. Once something is beyond your control, learn to accept it and to live with it in the best way that is possible. So that is my message about managing stress. And of course, long-term planning and avoiding surprises and living your life in a disciplined and orderly way reduces your chances of getting into trouble. And mental health is big, and it's a strong part of the definition of health, physical and mental well-being. There was the question of poverty and health. Well, what is poverty? Some people in the rural areas here in Uganda believe that they are poor because they don't have cash. But also their lives are not cash-based. They grow their own food, a very good quality of food. They just boil their food and eat it as such without oil and so on. And that is exactly what is right to do. But they look at it as bad for them, when in fact it is good for them. And then for people who are in the urban area and are short of money, if you call that poverty, they can't get good housing, they can't have access to food as basics, that is a problem. That is a problem. But again, there, a positive mental attitude always is a winner, because whatever you do, if you can learn to accept things which you cannot change, then you live a more satisfied life, and I think also a more successful life. Fertilizers in the food, that is a problem. That's a very big problem. The people in the rest of the world are looking for organically grown food without fertilizers and insecticide killers and so on. But then the food which is in our markets here quite honestly, I don't know how safe it is. But it is, I think, a challenge. And, you know, when we move on to talk about cancer, these are possible causes of cancer. These are possible causes of cancer. And if we now carry on and have that contribution from Julian, congratulations for your Cancer Society work. That is what we are looking for. People getting together as change agents and mobilizing like you are doing to support cancer advocacy and so on. We as Rotarians, every year we have got a fundraising activity called the Cancer Run. It is big. It generates hundreds of millions of shillings. We have built a cancer ward and treatment center at Nsambia Hospital, and we have also built a blood transfusion unit at Mengo Hospital. So let's be a part of our communities and societies and participate in activities like what Julian is participating in. I know the Uganda Cancer Institute is overrun with too many patients, and cancer is increasing here in the country because we've moved away from our traditional lifestyles, which protected us from these various hazards like fumes from cars, eating food which is being grown with fertilizers, and mental stress and so on. Then the regions who have had the conflict, this is big. What I know it has done, for example, like I come from the Teso area, the war there has changed the attitude of people. They are now more dependent. In the past, everyone, they had some cows in their home and so on, and they were proud to tell you that I'm okay, I don't need to depend on you, I don't eat in your home. But now people are begging. They got that negative attitude about everything. So that also needs a big intervention at a massive level. Maybe the NGOs, instead of only working on physical health, cancer of the breast and so on, could also pick up this topic of mental attitudes of people who have been through physical and psychological trauma. These are health issues which are there in our country, which all of us, you people in the private sector, should be taking interest in them also, because they affect the performance of your businesses. Employees' health. Here where I work, we have a small organization. It's a private sector with about 20 people, and we have a health insurance scheme for everyone. We pay a health insurance for all of them. And then we also tend to have a close relationship. We have meetings every week where we talk to each other, and that enables people to air their issues and so on. So the health insurance for employed people is a good idea. And most of you with your businesses should be having private health insurance, and they are there in Uganda here. So that's the list of things which I had. If I've left out anything, please let me know. But the real message is that health is our individual responsibility. And then we should be active members of our community, promoting community health, and also the people whom we work with, like our employees and so on. And then we should be more active members of our society, like Julian and the Uganda Cancer Society, and also Florence and the work she's doing at the College of Health Sciences. I think that work in the academic institutions should also translate into a better quality of life for the public. And the academic institutions have got that debt, doing a lot of research, which just ends up in papers and files and so on. So I hope that with this conversation, we have inspired each other, first and foremost, to take our own health seriously and do what it takes to remain healthy, and two, to be active members of our communities, trying to promote health wherever we are.
Super, super, super. Thanks a lot, Prof. There are a couple of more comments as we wrap up. Doreen says, for our children and mothers, let's also promote and support and protect breastfeeding, which has immense health benefits for everyone. James just is reiterating the statistic of 34,000 cancer cases reported in 2022. And those are the reported cases. That's close to about 90 cases per day. It's an alarming figure. And I think, as Prof, you have mentioned, it's a big challenge which we are dealing with. Florence adds to your comment, Prof, about health for our employees. She says, I propose a healthy meal in kind. When one eats, they concentrate. Don't give them money; they will not buy healthy food. So let's do that for the team. So a healthy meal in kind. I think it's a big debate. I think institutions have constantly been saying we'll turn everything into cash, and sometimes the cash is given, but the goal for the cash is not achieved. So let's do team building activities together. I think that touches on what Prof mentioned on a healthy mind, and you said you meet with your team regularly, but building that team. We spend quite a long period of time at work, so it's important that you are living in a healthy environment. Anne has a question, Prof. Any comments on genetically modified foods and government policy on them? Prof, please do comment on the genetically modified foods. And yes, I think Martin says, thank you, Prof. Personally, I understand awareness of being of transformation. Can I get your view in terms of health? Let me just read that again. I understand awareness is the beginning of transformation. Can I get your view in terms of health? What is essential to understand and be aware of? I think Prof has touched on this, but possibly you can add to that conversations. Julian, please do share the link. The link has been shared by Julian in the chat box. Prof, I think as we wrap up, you can touch on those two comments, and then also share with us your final remarks to the people who have been on the call.
Okay, the comment on breastfeeding is appropriate. The first 1,000 days of a child's life are critical. It is the time when the brain of the individual is growing, and if it is not well fed, if the child is not well fed, then the brain is not able to grow to its full capacity, and that person becomes stunted for the rest of their lives. So breastfeeding is the correct way for children to grow. They say exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, 100% breastfeeding, and then supplementing 6 months from 6 months onwards, and giving mothers maternity leave, which is long enough to enable them to look after their babies, is very important for the development of children. The question of the genetically modified foods, that is given. We've been at this for a long time, and it is a trend which is inevitable. I think we just have to get on and live with it, with the hazards and advantages which they have. But there has been debates in our parliaments and so on, skepticism, but it is inevitable, and it is happening already. They are growing new type of potatoes, tomato, cassava, through genetic manipulation of these crops. And is hardly, we are not sure about the consequences. And generally, employees' health is important, very important indeed. In our small organization here, apart from meeting regularly, we also agreed to do some exercise, communal exercise among the staff. It hasn't worked very well, but it's one of the issues which we can advocate for enterprises to support each other in undertaking physical activity. And really, my summary, maybe I've given it already. Health is at the center of everything. Without health, you have nothing. Without health, your wealth is useless. So, and we are born healthy, most of us. The body has got mechanisms for telling us how to maintain our health. Let's obey our bodies. Let's respect them. And if you are hungry and the body is telling you you are hungry, please eat. And then for us here now, our type of people in Uganda, I think the question of what food to eat is a big challenge. There's strong advert from commerce, but let me tell you that a lot of the foods which are advertised in the market are not the right foods, but the traditional African foods are just fine. That is what I try to do personally. And then mental health is important to learn what you can manage and what you cannot manage, and to accept the situation as it is, and not be upset because things have not gone your way all the time. Life is like that. There are things which you can change, and there are things which you cannot change, and just learn to live with all of them. And some of the communities who have gone through wars and so on, we need a response to that, and all of us have a duty to address that. And you people, you are entrepreneurs, you are the type of people who can become change agents in our communities. Wherever you are, please do something to make life better for yourself and for all other people in your community, in your neighborhood. Don't just be there taking from people and not giving anything to them. And the more you give, the happier you are, and the better it is for you as an individual and for your society and community. You can't leave everything to government. It will never work like that. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to talk. Enterprise Uganda, thank you for mobilizing Ugandan people to make more money and to be happy and to be healthy.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much for those submissions. We're very honored to have you for close to 1.5 hours having a detailed conversation on our health and how that translates into wealth. There are a number of key messages you have shared with us on it starts with you, on we are all born wealthy, on the fact that some mindsets are wrong, where we think that the food which is seen as food for the rich people is possibly even worse than the food which we should be eating that is healthy, on our role in the community to make sure that we are doing everything possible to make our mark. As entrepreneurs, you are change agents. You are the people who make sure that that things move. And when you abdicate that responsibility, chances are high that we all struggle. You are the one who, your voice which is listened to and a voice which is respected in your community. So it's important that you go out there and you ensure that you are actually pushing a good health agenda within your locality, within your home, within your sphere of influence. Professor, we thank you so much for sharing with us. For those of you who want to have a business health check, please I'm going to ask Derek and the team to share a link to the business health check. If you want someone, one of our counselors to visit your business, please do fill in and do apply. We meet every Thursday at 9 o'clock. Now that you're part of our database, we send you a weekly reminder of the message which we are discussing. Today we were discussing on health, and next week we'll be discussing a different topic. Professor, thank you. Please do thank the team at the African Center for Global Health